Who's got the Devo tonight? Do you know? Let's see if it's planned or open season. Huh? Curtis does. Okay. What? I'm not sure what Carson's doing. I don't like the fact that Carson's staying out there by himself. Thank you, Jake. You gonna hang with me? Hang out with me? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he wants to do. Good evening. It's good to see everyone tonight. If you would take a songbook and turn to number 266. 266. Going with a little singing tonight. I do not have any announcements that anybody has given me. Are there any things that need to be announced tonight that we missed this morning? Once, twice. All right. 266, Majesty. We're going to sing this through a couple times. Majesty, worship his majesty. Unto Jesus be all glory, power, and praise. Majesty, kingdom, authority, flow from his throne unto his own, his anthem raise. So exalt, lift up on high the name of Jesus. Magnify, come glorify Christ Jesus the King. Majesty, worship his majesty. Jesus who died, now glorified, King of all kings. Majesty, worship his majesty. Unto Jesus be all glory, power, and praise. Majesty, kingdom, authority, flow from his throne unto his own, his anthem raise. So exalt, lift up on high the name of Jesus. Magnify, come glorify Christ Jesus the 163. 163. Sing us through one time, and we'll ask Isaac Meyer to come and lead us in prayer. His name is wonderful. His name is wonderful. His name is wonderful. Jesus, my Lord. He is the mighty King, Master of everything. His name is wonderful, Jesus, my Lord. He's the great shepherd, the rock of all ages, Almighty God is He. Bow down before Him, love and adore Him. His name is wonderful, Jesus, my Lord.
All right, let's pray. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for everything you've given us. Please help the poor and the sick. Please help the soldiers. Thank you that we get to come together and worship you and meet together in your name to learn about your word and to lift each other up. Thank you for all of the new births in the congregation that either just happened or are about to happen, and please bless those babies as they grow up, and may you be pleased by our worship tonight. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Isaac. If you'd like, you can mark number 909. 909. Curtis is going to be bringing us the Devo tonight, so we'll be singing that following the Devo tonight. And then after you mark that, please turn over to number 533. 533. I am a sheep and the Lord is my shepherd, watching over my soul to keep guarding over me ever, watching wherever I go. And when the winds blow, He is my shelter, and when I'm lost and alone, He rescues me. And when the lion comes, He is my victory, constantly watching over me. He is constantly watching over me. We are His children, and He is our Father, watching over our soul. Great is His love for His sons and His daughters, watching wherever we go. And when the winds blow, He is my shelter, and when I'm lost and alone, He rescues me. And when the lion comes, He is my victory, constantly watching over me. He is constantly watching over me.
Good evening. Hope you all are doing well. It's been a little while since I've done a devotional, and that last one was my first one. So here we go. Today's thought is on how we as people, and especially we as Christians, struggle to let go of the plans that we have, even if it's to make room for something better. If you're following along in your Bibles, got a couple of related scriptures. This is chapter 29, verse 11 of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back from captivity. Also, I've got scripture from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. It's pretty frequent for us to be reluctant to acknowledge that our plan isn't working quite as well as we think it will, and that we need to adjust it. We're seeing this at this point in Centerville's marching band show. I work with them. This is the 6th year I've worked with them, and each season we go through working on producing a show and evaluating it, and eventually we decide that some parts aren't achieving the effects that we desire. It's pretty common for marching bands. A successful marching band isn't one that creates a perfect show. It's one that evaluates, adjusts, and relearns well. This band seems to be doing pretty well, relatively well at this in the moment, and I think we might have been slow to make these types of changes in the past. At this stage in the marching band season, it's typical and natural for people in their own lives to make small adjustments to a show in order to improve it. For the sake of trying to make something easy to understand and relearn, artifacts of what the old plan was stay, that sometimes are completely unnecessary to the new goal, but we're hesitant to remove them. Like the marching band this year, we were going to put in some choreography, some body in which we needed our right hands free, but the marching band, typically when they're carrying their instruments, not playing them, it's in that right hand. So we switched things over, and then we decided that choreography was not working. It wasn't fitting the goal, and I'll get into that later. But for a brief period of time, it seemed like the students were going to keep holding the instrument in the wrong hand, even though we'd gotten rid of why they needed to switch hands in the first place. The marching band wants to create the best show that we can. The staff wants to create the best show that we can because we care about the students and we're passionate about the art. God wants us to live our most humble, righteous, joyful life because he loves us and he cares about us learning how to love him and others. When we as people are trying to figure out what our best life is, we also tend to be slow to acknowledge that need for change. We try to stick with our own habits, desires, and struggles with sin unconsciously. We might get the sense that I just need to stick it out a little bit more of this and it'll get better, it'll work. And while this is particularly evident to Christians in the lives of people who haven't taken on Jesus yet, it still holds true for us as Christians today. Jesus called on us to revolutionize our lives, to completely change the way that we see ourselves, God, and our neighbors. But we hold on to these artifacts, these old ways of thinking, whether it's the instinct to lie to avoid a conflict, to hide a few tax dollars here or there because your family deserves it more than the government and they'll never know that you got paid that cash that day, or to lust after someone in your heart even though you'll never act upon it. Christians struggle with taking half measures and changing our heart, allowing our old goals to misshape our good intentions into something that falls short of God's goal for our lives. In the marching band show, we've got drill. I briefly mentioned this choreography that goes along with it. We had to scrap it because what it was doing was it was drawing away from the main focus. We have a soloist and we've got color guard, who are complementing them, dancing alongside. And then one of my coworkers had written this great choreo for the band. People who are not playing, people who have instruments, they wrote this great choreo. It was beautiful, it complemented the music, and it was interesting, and it helped the students grow, learn how to move their bodies in artful ways. But it was a little bit more difficult because they still had drill that they needed to go from one spot to another, and the choreo was written, it was hampered by the fact that they had to go from one spot to another. So the person who was writing it was held back by not getting rid of the drill and saying, we'll change it. So he said, we'll keep this artifact of the old plan, the drill, and then we'll do the choreo, but still try to fit it in, and that was making it worse. And then the other larger problem was the overarching story needed our focus to be somewhere else, and this great choreography that she'd written had distracted from that. We ended up getting rid of it in our rehearsal yesterday after working on it for 2 to 3 hours out of a 9-hour practice session, 12-hour day. We can see this impact in our life too, whether it's the pursuit of money to safeguard our family's future, the pursuit of influence to positively impact our community, building strong relationships with fellow Christians. When pursued too deeply or inappropriately, these things can lead to a risk of greed, of pride, of jealousy, or cliquishness, leading others to feel excluded. So how do we combat this? This juxtaposition I'm making of my personal life with the church hopefully can bring some perspective as well. The band does it by bringing in experts, outside opinions who can bring good advice and fresh perspective to the show. One of the people who decided to cut the choreo that we'd spent hours working on was someone who I have not worked with before. He's an expert in the field, he does drum corps, and they know him personally, but they brought him in, and his perspective said, this isn't what we need, dear. To me, this equates in our Christian walk to reading the Bible. There's so much wisdom in these pages, and they can help us see our lives from an outside perspective, from many perspectives. To step back and say, I've been looking at this wrong. To show how others got out of the traps that we ourselves are facing and that we've laid for ourselves, and to say, we can find a better way. The band also does it by going to competitions and performing. We see other bands whose shows we can admire and appreciate the great things that they do that we could emulate either now or in future years. And we receive judges, critiques from judges, who share their thoughts on what we're doing well and what we can improve upon. This is like having real, honest conversations and relationships with our spouses, our families, our Christian brothers and sisters. We can ask them for help when we don't know what to do. And if they see us not living rightly, they can help us get back on track. For the marching band, there are many shows throughout the course of a season that they get to perform. And there are many challenges and opportunities throughout these different competitions and through the course of our lives. The things we do along the way matter greatly to us, but the most important part is how we finish the journey. For the marching band, frequently that's Grand Nationals. They go to a national competition where they stack up against others and against all their previous shows. Our final product at the end, our goal is to look back and say that we did the best that we could do and we're proud of the show that we made, or the life that we lived, and that we're looking forward to our next season or our future in heaven with Jesus. Thanks for your attention. I hope that this Devo has been a reminder to you, while we are aware of a lot of what I said likely, that our Bible, our reading, our study, our relationship with our Christians and the people, building those strong relationships is how we can grow, how we can improve our life and change those plans and get out of the feeling of stuckness that we frequently have, sticking to that plan and making it work no matter what. Rich has frequently said, fail cheap, fail fast. We only have one life. We have to make sure that we fail cheap, fail fast, and adjust quickly in order to put our life on God's path, God's plan. If you need help, support from the church, prayers, guidance, sitting down with just someone else who's willing to listen to what your struggles are, the elders, the deacons, hopefully every person in this room would love to pray for you and to listen and talk to you. And if you need that help from the church, we'd welcome you to come forward as we stand, as we sing.
There's a fountain free, 'tis for you and me. Let us haste, oh haste to its spring. 'Tis the fount of love from the source above, and he bids us all freely drink. Will you come to the fountain free? Will you come? 'Tis for you and me. Thirsty soul, hear the welcome call. 'Tis a fountain open for all. There's a living stream with a crystal gleam from the throne of light. Now it flows while the waters roll. Let the weary soul hear the call that forth freely goes. Will you come to the fountain free? Will you come? 'Tis for you and me. Thirsty soul, hear the welcome call. 'Tis a fountain open for all. There's a rock that's cleft, and no soul is left that may not its pure water share. 'Tis for you and me, and its stream I see. Let us hasten joyfully there. Will you come to the fountain free? Will you come? 'Tis for you and me. Thirsty soul, hear the welcome call. 'Tis a fountain open for all. Closing tonight before we head to classes for the younger and the adults have a presentation on the small groups. We're going to sing number 425. For those that did not have an opportunity to partake of the Lord's Supper this morning, you can head back to room 1 on my right at this time while we're singing this final song. Where the Spirit of the Lord is. We'll sing this through a couple times. 425. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is peace. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is love. There is comfort in thy darkest hour. There is light and life. There is help and power in the Spirit. In the Spirit.
All right, we're about settled down. Looks like the teenagers are almost where they need to go. Almost there, yep. All right, well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. I know that this is regular Bible class time, and we're taking time away from Bible study to talk about small groups. I guess I just wanted to say that, we had an elders, deacons, ministers meeting back at the end of January, if you can imagine, January 29th. I looked it up on my phone a little bit before. And, small groups came up again, and it had been coming up for about every 2 years in those meetings. And finally, a group of us, started by Anthony Haynes, actually said, okay, this is obviously important because it's been coming up for so long. Let's actually do something. And so there's some planning and all that. And anyway, we got our small group committee together, mostly based on deacons from the group. And if you would, people who are on the committee, if you would stand up and come up front for a minute. And spouses are welcome to come up. They're part of the committee. They don't have to, but yeah, I totally get it. Or just wherever. Just up here somewhere. We'll have a cloud of committee up here. Right on time, Shay. Oh. No, just a minute. Anyway, I just wanted to thank all of these people. Shay reached out to me right after that meeting, and it turned out Anthony was doing meeting with his small group of people, and we ended up getting both groups together, and that's how this committee formed. Most of us are deacons, of course, and then Jared is the odd man out over here. But Jared had a lot of experience with small groups in his past and at Belmont. So he's a very valuable resource for us, and we appreciate having you and Bethany on board with us as well. So I just wanted to introduce the committee to all of you. I know that you've seen me up here talking to you every now and then, but this is the group that's been organizing everything. And if you have questions or you feel like you need to reach out to someone, these are the people to reach out to. Of course, you're welcome to talk to me, but every one of these people is involved in the planning for this. So thank you. That way you can put a face to the committee. I was going to make you stay. All right, so I mentioned this group, as it is now, started off in February, and we've been planning a lot, basically weekly. Now at the beginning, not as much, but certainly the past few months, we've been meeting every Sunday right before the evening Devo Bible classes to do the planning. So that you know, we've been working on this a long time. I'm just going to go into the plan that we have, and I'll share that with you. And then I guess if we have questions or something, we can address those while we're here. And we also have prepared sign-up sheets, hard copy sign-up sheets on the welcome desk. So after this time tonight, you're welcome to go look at the groups that we have available, even sign up. I will tell you, we didn't print a sign-up sheet for the youth group. We just assume the teens are going to be in the youth group. Okay, so we have sign-ups for all the other ones. All right. So we had the committee up here, and I'll go through the names. I'm sure most of you recognize everyone. But Pete and Marissa Ballantyne, Jared and Bethany Culbertson, Sean Dickerson. You didn't see him up here, I don't think. He's teaching, right? That's right. And speaking of teachers, we're recording this so that we can share that with the teachers as well. Anthony and Tracy Haynes, and of course, Anthony's been out quite a lot. So he was kind of in that core group that got us started, but we've been moving forward without him for most of this. But he's still on board with the whole thing. So if you see him around, say thank you for getting small groups going. Houston and Delaney Haynes, Shay and Haley McAfee, myself and Monica Payton, and Chris and Brooke Woodry. So that's the committee members. All right, so here's what's going on. This is a quick overview. We are going to change the morning worship times on October the 1st. So we have the whole month of September to get used to the idea of new worship times. And October 1st is when we're actually implementing the new times. We are going to do Bible class at 9:30 instead of 10 o'clock, which is what we're used to. So you need to get here half an hour earlier, and that's for Bible class. And then we're going to do worship at 10:30. So we'll still have the 45-minute Bible class, and then we'll have a 15-minute gap for hanging out, fellowship, finding your way back to the auditorium, and then we'll start worship at 10:30. There's a lot of different options here, and I can tell you that the committee, we didn't really come to a consensus on our own. So we ended up pulling these times from the survey results. So this is the best that we could pull from the survey information, okay? Some people wanted Bible class second and worship first. Some people wanted all of it to start at 10 o'clock, like we're used to, and then go later. Some people wanted it to be a little earlier, okay? But this is what we came up with from the survey results. So that's the way it is. You know, if there's a really, really good reason to do something different, let us know. But we couldn't convince ourselves that there was a really good reason to do it a different way. So I can tell you, I know that there's a lot of opinions on this one, but we went with what we could. Right now, the plan is for the groups to meet on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. We're encouraging 6 p.m. to meet, at least to get started for all of the groups, just so everything is consistent. Later on, after a few weeks or whatever, the groups start getting comfortable. It is okay if the groups change their time. It can be earlier on Sunday. It could be during the week. We're okay with being flexible on that. We just need to make sure that meeting time is communicated. So we want all the groups to start meeting at 6 o'clock, and then you can adjust the time for your group if that would work better for your group. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Sunday AM class at 9:30 and worship at 10:30. Both those plus meeting in the evening?
Yes. So we have our regular Bible class and worship will be both in the morning, and then we'll have the small groups on Sunday evening.
We got to, may I ask at this time why 3 times or 3 different situations through the day on Sundays?
Well, because we didn't want to lose the Bible class. So a lot of people can meet on Sunday nights, but have trouble meeting during the week, right? So we wanted to make small groups available to people who needed to meet on a Sunday night. Does that make sense?
The kids need their time. We don't want to get rid of Bible classes. So we adjusted morning worship time. We kept children's Bible classes.
So
And
to be clear, there's nothing in the, we're not having any meet in the building at 6 p.m. on Sunday nights.
Right, I
It's just
understand
for
that.
groups. Okay.
Did you have any more to say, Shay?
Just emphasizing, we're keeping everything.
Yeah.
Keeping children's Bible classes because the kids are important. But at the same time, the adults are important. And we think that the gathering of these at a time that people are already used to gathering during helps to emphasize just a great launch point.
Dave, since we're recording this for future selection later, can you kind of repeat and summarize what people are saying? Because I'm having trouble hearing it. So
Okay.
You got the mic. If we're going to capture this. You need to.
Yeah, so Gary's original question, correct me if I'm wrong, but your original question was, why are we having 3 different meeting times? Right? Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Now, is Sunday AM class for the children only, or is that adult class also?
that's also the adult Bible class. So we would meet in here like we're used to. in here like we're used to, but at 9:30 in the morning for adults. And then the kids will have their class. Just like what we do on Sunday evening, it's just moving to Sunday morning. So again, the reason is because we want to keep the adult and children's Bible class time in the schedule. But why we're moving that is so that we can also do the small groups in the evening. So that way we're adding an additional thing at the expense of more time on Sunday morning. All right, the format for small groups, I think people generally are kind of familiar with that, but we did want to emphasize that food should be optional. A lot of people like the fellowship part of the small groups, bringing food and having a good time and all that. We don't want that to be an issue for the hosts. So each group can work out their own thing. If a group wants to do food, they can do food. The host can, delegate, I guess, how much and who's responsible for that. We don't want the host to be making a meal for everyone. So keep it light, but we're also not going to say that food is required. So that is optional, and if a host can't do the food for whatever reason, the group needs to follow suit. And then for now, the discussion questions, and we'll get more into this a little bit later. Discussion questions are going to be based on Houston's sermons. So we're going to take the sermon, and Houston, for at least the first 6 months, is going to prepare discussion questions that are in line with that sermon. And those discussion questions are what the leaders will be asking about during the small group time. Again, this is just a high-level slide. So, group leader training will be provided by the small group committee, and that's coming up. I think we've got the date on the last slide. And we're planning to not break the small groups during the summer. I know a lot of places they'll do small groups through like the fall and the spring, and then when it gets to summer, it's just no small group all summer. And what we found in our research is that makes it really hard to get the small groups started back up. So we are encouraging groups to take a few weeks off, gives people some break. That doesn't have to be all during the summer. It could be when the groups need a break, especially the hosts. But we're not going to say, break for 3 months and then try to get back together. We want to keep those things going. But at the same time during the summer, we want to plan monthly all-church events. So get all the groups back in and do something here on the property. And so the committee will take the lead on planning those things. And then currently, 5 adult groups. We currently have 5 adult groups set up and a teen group. And the teen group will meet here. We do need a leader for one of those groups. That's the Miamisburg group, because we just had Bob and Nancy just offered to host that group. So we put it on the list today. But we don't have a leader lined up for that yet. So we're working on that. If anyone is in the Miamisburg area and would like to lead, let us know. But right now we've got the youth group. We'll meet here at the FLC. And the leaders will be Sean Dickerson and Chris Woodry and Blake Haynes. We are planning to provide an option of transportation. So if you're living in like Springboro and it's hard for you to get your kid to the church building, and you have a small group in Springboro that you want to go to, we're planning on making our church van available to go pick up some kids that need it. I know a lot of the kids in the youth group right now are driving, so that kind of alleviates that at the moment. But we'll have to sort of be flexible with that and play that by ear. Alternatively, there's a Centerville group, so if you need to drive up here and drop off your kid, and you could go to the Centerville group, that might be convenient for you as well. We have a young adult and college group, and that would be primarily for really singles, so no kids. They're going to meet at the Ballantyne's house, and the leaders are Pete Ballantine and Tyler Carrer. How do you say your name? Carrer, thank you. They're going to lead that group. We have the Centerville group, which will be at the Leslies, and the leaders are James Leslie and myself. We have a North Dayton Beaver Creek group, which is got quite a few people that have gotten tacked on over the past month or so. So this might be a group that, we'll see how many people sign up, but this might end up becoming 2 groups pretty quick. So that's going to be in the Beaver Creek area, and for leaders we have down Houston, Jared Culbertson and James Passmore are leaders for that group. Location, I've got the Robinsons, the Passmores, and the Culbertsons have all volunteered to host it up in that area. We have a Springboro group. Right now, we've got Shay as the leader for that group, and they're going to meet at the Woodries and the McAfees. And we used to have Chris in this group, but we moved him over to support the youth group just today. So hopefully we'll get another leader on board for that group soon. And the Miamisburg group is a no kids group. That'll be at Bob and Nancy Pittman's, and we're still looking for a leader there. The group put together this map really quick. Not all of the host locations are on there, but the one with the little plus sign, kind of middle, bottom left-ish, is the church building itself. And so we've got the Miamisburg location is over on the left, Springboro, Centerville, Springboro South, Centerville is a little southeast, and then the young adult group and the Beaver Creek group are up on the northeast. So just to give you an idea, when you're going to go sign up, these are the kind of locations that we've got set up right now. So if you can envision where your house is, you might already have one picked based on how close you are, and that's fine. So just be aware of that. We talked about the group format in the introduction slide a little bit, but again, we're expecting the groups to start meeting at 6 o'clock p.m., and we expect the groups to be meeting for 1 to 2 hours. So 1 hour is probably not quite enough if you're doing like a fellowship sort of food thing. So it's probably going to be more like 1.5 to 2 hours. Time limit based by host. Some hosts aren't going to be able to stay super late, so be respectful. Get out when you need to get out. So we expect there to be a fellowship time. Food is optional during that, and that'll be decided by the group. And that'll be just kind of an informal, people can communicate, talk, catch up, kind of try to be involved in what's going on in their life, okay? Singing is optional. If your group can sing, do it. And we'll provide some links to some resources for lyrics and things like that. You can also grab a couple songbooks or something. I'm sure that's fine. But if you need resources, talk to the committee. We're here to give you what you need. So from the fellowship, the singing is sort of to try to bring everyone kind of back together. And then we want to do what we've coined the organized group chat. Okay, and this is a little different than your fellowship time. During the fellowship time, it's just free form. If you feel like talking to someone, you go talk to someone, right? The organized group chat is based more by the leader asking questions of people, and that's to follow up on prayer requests. That's to follow up on maybe news from the previous week or two. And also, we're expecting to have sort of a challenge. I don't know if it's a question, but like a discipleship challenge will be like the final point in the discussion questions each week. And that's an opportunity for people to go and practice discipleship during the week. So the organized group chat time is a good time for the leaders to follow up with people on how did you do with that challenge? Were you able to do that? Was that a struggle? Is there things that you could do to improve that in your life? The prayer time made sense for it to be after organized group chat because probably you're going to do prayer requests during that. So that'll be a prayer time. And we're not really just looking for a quick prayer, although that might be how the groups start out. We'd really like that to be a little bit longer, getting more people in the group involved in that. So it's not just like opening prayer. We want that to be more meaningful and more powerful. And then the study and discussion questions. Now, long term, we will allow groups to choose topics relevant to the group. So it's not just going to be Houston's sermon-based discussion questions all the time. If there are groups that like that and they want to keep doing that, then we'll look at continuing to do that. But we do understand that groups are probably going to have their own topics that they want to talk about, maybe books of the Bible they want to look at, and we'll remain flexible with that and allow that to happen. But again, the committee just wants to make sure that the leaders are sharing what they're doing with us so that we know, maybe we can provide some resources. But B, there might be new members or new visitors that are looking for groups, and it might be better for them to go to a group that's talking about a particular topic. So that could become more complicated in the future. So we just need to make sure that the committee is aware of what the groups are studying. And then here's maybe a big one for groups with children. Groups that have children will create a customized plan for the children. Okay, so we're not going to say this is what you do for the children, because we know that that's probably not going to work for every group with children or every family. So, but it is critical if a group has children in it, then the group needs to figure out what they're going to do with the children. We have some suggestions. You can ask us if you need those suggestions, but whether that's rotating through parents, and then they have a small lesson, like kids-oriented lesson prepared each week, and then one group of parents does that with the kids in the group, and then that rotates. That's one idea. It could just be a playtime. That's not super great spiritually, but it's an option. So just they get their lesson in the morning. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of variation there, and it's really hard for us as the committee to just say this is what's going to work for the kids. Every group is going to be different, and parents are all different, and kids are all different. It's really hard to just come up with one catch-all for every situation. So we're going to pass that on to the groups to figure out. We will help with resources. If you need resources, again, even for the kids, let us know, and we'll do what we can to work with you and your group. Okay, online resources. We have a website that can do a lot of things, and we have really underutilized that. If you've been to our website in the past 3-4 years, you'll notice that there's a members section there, and you have to request an account. All right, so we're actually going to be doing a fair bit of small group management and information dissemination through the members side of the website. We just put a computer back at the welcome desk, and in the next few weeks, we'll be opening up for people if they need help creating an account. They can go back to the welcome desk before or after worship, and we can help them set up a user account. But information like the discussion questions, song lyric, links to apps and things you can use for song lyrics, stuff like that will be there on the webpage. We'll have a list of the current small groups there. So if we have someone new coming into the building, they can go to the welcome desk. The welcome desk person can actually try to match them up with small groups, just pulling that information from the webpage. So that's going to be a bigger and bigger resource as we build that up. We have the small group listing. We can also get the locations through the webpage if we need to do that. We're going to provide a feedback link in the small group section. So if maybe your group is having a conflict and you and your leader aren't able to resolve that, and you feel like you need to talk to someone on the committee about that, you could submit feedback through the webpage directly to the committee. You can also just find one of us and say, hey, let's talk. Okay, we're fine with that. Yeah, go ahead, Curtis. Will there be an option for the feedback link to be anonymous? We could do that.
It seems like that's the most useful part of having an online one as opposed to talking to someone in person.
Yeah. Well, it kind of depends because, if you have an issue that you need to bring up, it's probably going to be related to that group. It's going to be hard for us to do much if it's anonymous, I think. I mean, at least just for the committee. That doesn't mean that everyone in the congregation is going to see what you send us. But, yeah. Yeah, we could talk about that. Mm-hmm. we're planning to have individual group pages. So, like the Beaver Creek small group, they could have their own page with information, like especially if they're doing their own topic, they might want to list like a Bible verse or something for that week, or maybe memory verses. Ooh, memory verses, yeah. So we would make it so that the leaders can put stuff on their page for their group. And then we're planning on having a leaders page where we can track group attendance. Leaders could actually get into the webpage admin side and put in attendance for their group, so we can track that. We'll have group health assessments. That's a thing for leaders to try to gauge how well their group is doing. Are there things they need to adjust or things they need to work on? So that will be on the leaders page. And also we'll have a copy of the leader training material, which we're not going to share tonight. We're having a separate leader meeting for that. So just resources for the leaders, really. All right, and then our long-term goals, we're going to continue the groups year-round. I mentioned it's okay to take breaks when you need to take breaks. Just let us know that you're on break so we don't send visitors to your group. Okay. We are going to plan monthly church-wide summer events. So only during the summer we'll do those. And we're going to also encourage, through the committee, one of our visions is we don't want the church to just become a bunch of small house churches. All right? So we're going to be intentional about encouraging the groups to hold occasional events with other groups. So we would like, the Beaver Creek group and the Centerville group to get together every now and then, or the Centerville group and the Springboro group to get together and do something. That doesn't necessarily mean that get together is going to look like a small group. They might do a service or an outreach, or hang out at a park or something, and that's okay. But we want to make sure that the groups are getting out of their group. That's important. The small group committee and the leaders will monitor the health of the groups and the size of the groups. We do recognize that groups get too large, and that can be a problem, especially for the hosts, right? Unfortunately, there's no magic number. Everyone has a different opinion on what that magic number would be. So that's going to be up to the hosts and the leaders to determine that, mostly the hosts. But when a group starts getting unmanageable, it's too large, then we'll start talking about creating a second group to handle that. That's going to come back to the committee, and we'll help guide that process. Now, if a group says, oh, we've already picked out people that can be leaders and we have hosts, that's all set up, great. But we're still going to, get all the back-end stuff on the webpage set up for that and all that before that actually gets launched. But we want to make sure that we're handling the size issue appropriately and not just leaving groups out on their own. We are planning to do leaders meetings initially, most likely for the rest of the calendar year, probably 6 months or so into the spring. Those are going to be monthly meetings on Sunday. And that's so that the committee and the leaders can catch up and see if there's adjustments that we need to make. We know it's not going to be perfect for everyone. In fact, it's probably not going to be perfect for a lot of people. But we need to learn and grow and make it better from the get-go. Once we've had those monthly meetings and we're starting to feel like things are getting smoother and more comfortable, we're going to back those off to quarterly meetings. And of course, we can also, hold an individual meeting with a leader or a group if we need to. And then study materials. This gets back to if you're doing different topics or things like that. We want to assist group leaders in selecting materials and resources if they need it. So come to us, the committee, and we can help you find materials for specific topics that you're interested in. We're also planning to create a library of materials that might be good. We have we have the library downstairs, but I don't know if you've looked at it. A lot of those books are really old, which is fine, but we want to make sure we have stuff in there that's relevant for us. All right, okay, and this is the schedule. Also the last slide, yeah. This is the schedule that we have right now. So tonight, we're doing the Sunday night presentation. Thank you all for being here. And we're starting the sign-ups. Sign-up sheets are at the welcome desk. So, if you already have an idea where you would like to go sign up. On September the 10th, we're not doing anything September 3rd because it's Labor Day. So we expect that people will be out that weekend. But September the 10th, we're going to do a shorter presentation on Sunday morning to catch all the people who weren't here tonight. And that will be after the announcements. So we'll have our normal worship service, and then we'll do that immediately following. On September 17th, we'll do the leader training. On September the 30th, we're going to send out a phone tree and email, and we'll be doing stuff all September to remind you constantly that we're having a time change, okay? But we'll remind people that October 1st is when the Sunday AM worship time changes and when small groups are starting. All right. Go ahead. Are teachers changing October 1st? Pete says yes. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Houston. Absolutely.
I just want to add to all the logistics and stuff that I know are the really interesting thing. We want to add to this at this time, I think, the why we're doing this, the objectives, the reason why we're kind of moving forward with this kind of things. We're not doing this because it's trendy. We're not doing this because a majority of churches are. We're doing this because we felt like we had a need at the Centerville Church of Christ, and small groups seem to be a very effective method to address those needs. Namely, the two big ideas that we kept seeing over and over again that were needed, that we thought this would help with, are relationships within our church family and a need for spiritual growth. Okay, so to start first with, we have been really blessed with a lot of new families during the pandemic and shortly after the pandemic, right? We have had an influx of new people wanting to come and place membership with our church, which is great, and I think it says a lot about the ministry that's going on here. With that said, we have found through conversations with these people, and some of you are here, that there's not a lot of opportunity to get to know other people. When you sit quietly and stare at the back of heads for an hour in the morning and in the evening and people rush in and out from the parking lot, it's hard to develop genuine, deep relationships. And we wanted to find avenues to do that. We've all, at least as a younger person, I know I hear regularly, oh, back in the day, we all used to go to Pizza Hut down on 48 after Sunday night church, or we never let a visitor come without inviting them over for dinner. And that's great. But that's not the culture anymore. Not just here. That is not the American culture anymore. Hospitality is a dying art. People have no more time, whether that's because of corporate jobs, family needs, or whatever. There seems to be less and less time to commit to other people. And so what we thought to do as a congregation is to provide that time, to come up with that time and offer it to you so that we can grow as brothers and sisters. And if the asking price was, hey, would you come to church 30 minutes earlier in the morning and leave 30 minutes later in the morning, that seemed like an affordable cost to provide this and seek out this opportunity. Not just for the relationships themselves, but for the accountability and the stuff that comes out of that, which is the second point, the spiritual growth. We go deep here, which is great. And we have a lot of strong Christian folk who are here. And our Sunday night and what will be Sunday morning Bible classes, we go at this level. I mean, it is deep stuff. And there are young Christians here. And it's an intimidating environment. And maybe they don't get as much out of the Bible classes as some of you do. And what being able to come together in a living room does in smaller groups is we can address the needs of our brothers and sisters in that smaller, compact area, right? Something you might not want to ever ask a question when there's intimidating people like Gary Cook, who I think is just a brilliant lifelong Christian. I would be, as a new Christian, I'd be afraid to sound stupid or something in front of learned Christians. And I know that that's been shared with me, that is a concern people have had. And so not only does it bring people and build relationships, but we just believe it's a better pedagogy. It's a better method of learning. And even I was talking to a couple people who are getting masters in education, and they're like, yeah, lecture-based learning is about the fourth most effective way of learning. Discussions are how it happens. And the leaders in these things, they're not going to be lecturing at you. They're going to be facilitating discussions so that we can grow. And the accountability that comes from that, the ability to open up and ask for prayers, the ability to grow is going to be really, really great. And I don't want to field the questions. So I just wanted to throw out there the why, because we're not just doing this arbitrarily. And I know the logistics is really important, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But just while we were here, I wanted to gather and say there were needs that we weren't meeting super effectively. And this is how we're trying to find a way to do that.
Yeah, along with that too, when we were doing reading and discussion just in the committee, one of the things, and I mentioned it through how we don't want to just be a bunch of house churches that kind of just do our own thing. So small groups provide an opportunity for people to, get in touch with one another and really connect, okay, with the people in their group. But we need to be careful about on Sunday morning during our worship time that we're not just sitting with our small group, and that's like the only people we ever hang out with, right? So one of the things that we'll be encouraging through the small group leadership and discussion questions and that sort of thing is that, Sunday morning is really your time to reach out to people that aren't in your group, okay? That's where you go look for maybe people that don't have a small group and need to go to a small group. You can invite them, okay? People who do go to small groups that maybe you don't get to talk to very much, even as it is today, because there's other people you want to catch up with. Once you have that small group will be there for you in the evening, and you don't need to spend all your time on Sunday morning talking to your small group. And I think that will provide an avenue to help us. And I'm an introvert. It's not easy for me to talk to people, once the conversation gets going, I'm fine, right? But starting that conversation for me is the really hard part. But if it's a matter of I am not really supposed to just hang out with my small group on Sunday morning. It's going to be much more likely that I will probably end up in a conversation with someone outside my small group. And that's exactly the kind of connection we want to foster. So it's not that the small group itself is necessarily how you make that happen. Small groups are a tool that we can use, but it has to extend beyond the small group. So we're really looking at a vision of a little bit of a culture change in the congregation at large. And the small group is sort of a way to facilitate that. But it's not going to solve all the issues, right? It's not going to magically make everyone in the congregation connected to each other, right? So that's something that we'll have to continually grow on. And that relates to what Houston was saying, but I just kind of want to emphasize that point. Okay, and we had other questions. Tyler.
Later necessarily, but since I will be scheduling a lot of the welcome desk people and Bible class will be going on probably are we going to have them there earlier before Bible class? Or are they only going to leave Bible class early and greet the people that are just coming for the service? Or I don't know if that had been taken into consideration, because we'll need time to add people to the system and things like that.
Yeah.
Especially going forward. That can be an individual discussion.
Yeah. No, that's a good thought. Probably, I imagine that as we're getting started, it's going to be more important for welcome desk people to be there earlier.
So
and then a little bit later into class even. Now, once we've got things more established, probably you wouldn't need to be there too much earlier than class start. And then, 5 minutes or whatever after class starts, it's probably, if there's no one out there, there's no reason to be out there, right? But I think probably we're going to need more time for the welcome desk people at the beginning at least.
There's going to be 15 minutes between the end of class and the start of worship.
Okay. Yeah, that gap is built in because our current classes are 45 minutes. See, if you do it the other way, then you've got the worship, and then it's butting right up against when class starts. So you don't get that time then, which in a lot of churches, and I know some of you were here back when there were multiple services and things like that, but for a lot of churches that going from class to worship or worship to class, they always have that 15 minutes or so in there. And if we do it the other way, you end up having to extend rather, if we do it this way, you don't have to. But that wasn't really a reason why we did it the way we did it. We picked that just based on the survey results. So. Go ahead, Andy.
There will be visitors who want to bring their family and their kids to the class at 9:30. We need to have a welcome desk present to point them in the right direction.
Okay, right. So the point is that when visitors are coming in, we do need someone at the welcome desk to point them to the right classrooms and things like that. Yep, absolutely.
Also, for all of us who need to get signed up on the website, we do have 4 Sundays between now and then, before we are switching to the 9:30 time. So hopefully all of us will get signed up
Yes.
this month.
Yeah, so that was part of the reason for it. You know, originally we were talking about, and it took us a while to get to this point. So we were talking about actually starting on September 10th. And then as things kind of drug out, you know, we realized that that'd be way too fast to try to get people, not just accounts for the web system, but to get all the information out to the congregation. So that's why we pushed it back to October 1st, which is a much more comfortable date. So we do have a whole month that the congregation can prep for this. Mm-hmm. Rich?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to speak real briefly on behalf of the elders. So we've been asked to do the elders support this, and the short answer is yes, we do. We've been talking about how to address these concerns of, you know, the interrelationships within the congregation and plugging new people in and some of these things. And we've been talking about this for a long time, and we just come to the opinion that you know, the logistics and the details is beyond the scope of what the elders really need to be doing. So there was a group of people that were interested in doing this. We say, okay, give us a proposal. This is the proposal, and from an elder standpoint, this is what we're doing. And we encourage each and every one of you to participate and get those kids here at 9:30 in the morning. This is what we're doing. As Dave said, you know, we saw, and as Houston said, we saw some gaps in our congregation, and this is the way we hope to fill them. That having been said, as Curtis said, my favorite saying is fail fast, fail cheap. If something isn't working, let us know. We'll check, adjust, and improve, and try to address those concerns. Anything else we need to say, Mark? Okay.
We recognize this is a cultural change.
It's a big change.
And it's going to be an impact for a while until we adapt to it. And there will be tweaks along the way, and I appreciate the committee and their hard work. The elders know what hard work that was. We tried to work on it.
Yes, it's a change, but, so that's why I'm here. We've been doing inward, upward, outward for a long time. We're not stopping. That part's not changing. And I just want to emphasize, you know, we've got the 3 elements of what we do during the course of the week. So we've had classes on Sunday evening, and that's the inward strengthening as we learn more about the Scripture. The Sunday morning is the upward, obviously primarily focused on our worship time. And then Wednesdays has been our outward piece with Branch Out. That's not changing just because we moved Sunday night to Sunday morning. That's still that inward element. What small groups is giving us is a 4th piece to that puzzle. And it's, you know, we had a little, I'm glad Houston came up to explain the why a little bit, because that was going to be my question to Dave, is where's the why? Small groups can fill all 3 of those, right? So as we do the small group piece, we should obviously be doing the inward and the discussion aspect of that and studying Scripture and learning more about that and interacting with one another. There's certainly an upward element to that, as we talked about sharing each other's lives and praying to God about those elements of that. So there's that upward piece. And it's our hope that these groups find the outward outlet, whether it's reaching out to neighbors and inviting them to be part of the group, or whether it's doing a group function where you're going out and giving cookies to first responders like we did last week. You know, so So that inward, upward, outward persists into the small group as a fourth piece of what we're doing here. 3 primary focus areas where we're doing inward, upward, outward, an integrating piece, which is small group.
All right, so there's only a couple minutes left, which is perfect. So I just want to emphasize again, if you have questions or concerns or what have you, you can talk to any of us on the committee. I'm sure the elders will take your questions too, but, if you think you have a serious concern, obviously. But we would like you to, if you have concerns, let us know. There's a good chance we've already thought of it. To be honest, we've been working on this for a long time. But there's also a good chance that we missed something. Most of us on the committee, if you saw, were about the same age, kind of about the same walk of life, So we recognize the fact that there's probably things that we missed. We tried to do an input meeting way back, a few months back. We got some good information out of that, but to be honest, it wasn't really the information we were looking for. And so that's why we decided to go more this format, where we wanted to present the plan. And Houston, thank you for talking about the why. And now you've got a month for any feedback that you think we need to have. So I welcome you. I challenge you to give us the feedback. And we'll do our best to take everything into consideration. So I'm going to go ahead and dismiss now, a minute or so.
For a small group, that's just because we're trying to get a good handle on how many people are going to be in each group. So that would help us out a lot if you would please sign up for first.
If you wanted to take time to think about it, fine, but go ahead and sign up if you're going to do small groups, because I can tell you, if I was told to sign up and I said, let me think about it, I'm probably going to forget to sign up. Now, we're going to tell you every week, go sign up, okay? But I want to make sure that you don't forget.
It's important. Those aren't like set in stone. So if you put your name on a particular one, and then either between now and when they start, you can change. Even if a few weeks in, you're like, I don't like these people. No, not that. But if you thought, I don't mind driving 25 minutes, that'll be fine. And then a couple weeks in, you're like, this is harder than I thought to drive. Let me find somewhere close. It's totally fine. Like, these things are not intended to be like set in stone. But it's more like to give us an idea of, if we're like working with the kids, like which kids are actually likely to be at our house, and so we can try to come up with a plan for those sorts of things.
So we are not assigning everyone to a group. Okay, the committee is not just taking out the map, although we could take out the map of everyone in the church and say, you go to this group. We're not going to do that. We are going to be flexible, and we understand that you need to have some freedom of choice there, and we're going to let you have that freedom. So we want you to sign up. If a group is like way too big or something, we'll contact some people and see if we can shuffle things around a little bit. But ultimately, that's going to be up to your choice. Be somewhere. Yeah. And I was going to say something else about that one. Oh, we really want, when you're plugged into the group to start, we really want you to try to stick with that group for a while. So if there's some tension or something, we get that. Don't switch right away. Okay, try to stick it out for a while and see if it's really an issue or if that's something that you can smooth over. We want you to get a good start with where you're at, and you do get to sign up. So so just give it a little bit of time, and if there's a struggle, if something's really not working, then we'll figure something out. But we don't want people to just be in a different small group for the first 4 weeks. To test them out and see how they all are and pick the best one. We don't want to be like that. So just try to stick it out with the group that you start with, and if there is an issue, we'll work that out in a little bit of time. Okay. All right. We'll pray, have a closing prayer, and then we'll dismiss. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to come together as a body of believers and talk about you and your will. I understand that this evening we're talking about more of a logistics thing, starting small groups and some of the details involved in that. And Lord, I pray that you would bless this initiative and the small groups that we form and help them to be prosperous and help them to be healthy groups. We know that you have the ability to do that, and it's nothing that we do that's going to make that all magically perfect, but we know that you have grace for all of us, and that with your power, this could be a good blessing for the church. I pray that you be with all of us tonight as we leave here and we continue about our weeks. Help us to remember you and help us to find opportunities to serve you to our neighbors throughout the week. Help us to be disciples and not just people who sit on the pews on Sunday morning. Be with us all, and in Jesus' name, amen.